but actually an interactive class, even if they're not live on audio or video. Now, with polls, the other thing that you can do is, in addition to using them as quizzes, is you can just simply use them as a poll. So, throughout the class, you can have students, if they want, they can tell you to slow down, they can tell you to speed up, they can tell you that, this is too difficult, all sorts of stuff. But what you can basically do is you can check in with them kind of proactively. And I'll just do a really quick one right here. I'll just ask the question, am I talking too fast? So I think it was Daniel who asked that before. So you can go ahead and answer that. It's just a great way to quick check in with your students. How are we doing? Is this working for you? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Do I need to, speak louder, speak more softer? This is a great way for you to gauge where the class is at. Do we want to go ahead and go through another example? Yes or no? Or do we want to move on? Well, this is a great way, boom, I'll do the quiz and find that out. So 90% of you say I'm not talking too fast, so I feel better now. So anyway, quizzes and polls, fantastic way to make the class interactive, to get feedback throughout the course of the class. Highly recommend using those. And again, it's best if you set those up ahead of time so that you're not setting them up on the fly like I did today. And finally, number 10 is wrapping up. So when you get towards the end of the class, as we are getting close to the end of the class today, what are the things that you want to do? First of all, I always like to have a Q&A portion in the classes. I think that's one of the things that changes this from just simply I'm watching a video lecture on the web. This is actually interactive. I have the opportunity to have my questions answered by the teacher. So whether you want to break that up and do multiple Q&A portions throughout the class, or have everyone save their questions and do it at the end of class, or however you want to do that is entirely up to you. But I think it's always good to have some form of a Q&A portion, and also to the extent that you would like to have students be able to come on audio or video. It definitely, even if people aren't on audio or video throughout the whole class, it's good at some point in the class to give people that ability, because it's fun for people to see other people, hear other people talk, realize that this isn't just a one-way me talking to you, but there's actually interaction happening here. Another thing is I always like to see when teachers offer next action steps. Now this can be something like homework. Sometimes teacher will say, okay, I want you to do this and complete this before our class meets a week from now. If you can do homework with the students, that's great. Sometimes it's a link to an upcoming class. Like this is a one-off class, so there's not a recurring series of these. However, I'll probably have classes like this again in the future. If I had one on the calendar right now, I could literally put a link in the chat pod and be like, hey, once this class is done, go over to this URL and sign up for the next class. So these are the types of things, kind of that call to action at the end of class, some things that you want them to do. And I always always make sure at the end of class to thank students. And this is an obvious thing, it's a touchy-feely thing, but you want to definitely let them know that you appreciate them taking their time to come to class, and also their attention throughout the course of class. I think that one of the things that's great is with this interactivity is that it's much more engaging than just simply watching a video, like a canned video lecture. And so the interactivity that the students provides really makes it a lot more fun for the teacher, and it's always great to appreciate that in your students. So I'm going to do all those things because I want to follow my own principles, but before that I promised you a little surprise beforehand. So I'm going to run through something really quick, and this is where I actually was looking for some David Letterman theme music before this class started, because what we have is the David Letterman top 10 list, which is the top 10 signs that you know that you're a webucator. Now, we've coined the term teacherpreneur at eduFire, and you can Google teacherpreneur and we're the first result, and if you want to find out what that means. Webucator basically just means someone who's an educator on the web. So without further ado, I'll offer you the top 10 signs that you know you're a webucator. Number 10 is you brag to other teachers that your commute is measured in steps rather than miles. My apologies for the bad grammar, put this together last minute. So that's the number 10 reason. Number 9, one of your biggest challenges when preparing for a class is trying to figure out how to keep your dog from barking. So this is, DJ, I was thinking about you on this one. Number 8, top 10 signs you know you're a webucator. when you know that it only matters what you wear above the waist. So what none of you know right now is I'm actually wearing orange striped Zubas and then this nice dress shirt. It doesn't matter on the web, because all you'll see is me from the waist up. Number 7, upstream bandwidth has taken on a whole new significance for you. Most people, until they came across eduFire, had no idea what their upstream bandwidth is. Now I see threads on the forum where people are like, oh, my upstream is this, my upstream is that. So people are realizing that obviously if you've got a better upstream, you're more likely to have a good experience when you do interactive video. So it's this whole new level of awareness that most people weren't aware of before. Number 6, top 10 signs you know you're a webucator. You're getting just a little too familiar with doing time zone conversions in your head. There's a lot of people who are like, all right, I want to be able to do more of my class. I want people in Europe to be able to be there, and people in Asia, and people in the US, and how many GMT, -8 and -6. And so if that's you, then you definitely know you're a webucator. Top 10 signs. Number 5, you plead with your housemates for complete silence during class times. If you find yourself teaching classes and you live with roommates or with housemates and you don't want them screaming or playing loud music during your class, you may be a webucator. Top 10 signs. Number 4, you feel like you should have a PhD in the science of webcams. I think before when I was mentioning webcam, or somebody mentioned webcam quality, all of a sudden like a bunch of terms got thrown out that I had no clue what was going on. So I don't have my PhD yet in the science of webcams, but it looks like some of you are well on the path. Number 3, top 10 signs you know you're a webucator. One of your top 5 rescue time websites is edufire.com. So on the forums there was a thread about this where I posted, there's a great application called Rescue Time, which allows you to basically see how much time you're spending on different websites and on different applications on your computer. And so I've been running with Rescue Time for about the last month, and sure enough, you know, my number 1 site was edufire.com, and then a bunch of you posted your top 5 Rescue Time websites, and most of you had edufire.com as well. So you may know you're a webucator if. Number 2, top 10 signs you know you're a webucator. Your child has made their on-camera debut in one of your classes. I was taking a Japanese session recently with Brett, and Brett brought his son on board to say hi to me in Japanese, and it was adorable. And so if that's you, if your child has been on camera during your class, then you may know that you're a webucator. And drumroll please, the number 1 sign that you know you're a webucator is your most common dream is of the day when you will teach in telepresence. And for those of you who don't know what telepresence is, it's basically, and there's a great product right now that Cisco has, it's essentially what allows you to basically be like a 3D, kind of like 3D virtual reality video chat. So basically, you know, a life-size person entering the living room, and someday we'll get there. This is a very, very rudimentary start. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Put that together last minute. I'll post that to the forums as well. So next steps, as I mentioned before, I definitely wanted to include that. First of all, sign up to teach a class. My apologies, the formatting got a little bit messed here, but sign up to teach a class. We haven't really made this very popular yet, but we haven't made this very visible on the website yet. But if you go to edufire.com/classes/new, you can sign up to teach a class. But for right now, we're leaving it pretty open, and we're allowing people to teach kind of whatever they want to teach. Now, at some point in time, we may actually kind of change that a little bit, just because the focus of eduFire, at least right now, is on languages and test prep. But for right now, we've kind of left it open. We've got a class coming up in PHP. We've got a class coming up in cooking in Japanese. There's a bunch of stuff coming up that's not really languages or test prep, but you know, we're just kind of having fun with it right now. And if you want to sign up for a class, go to edufire.com/classes. And again, we also haven't made that very popular, but somehow people are hearing about these classes because we're getting classes with 20, 30, 40, 50 students in them. So it's already getting pretty popular, even though we haven't promoted it. But we definitely are still very much in beta mode. There are going to be some things that are going to be kind of not working very well. The interface to sign up for classes and things isn't nearly as good as it's going to be. But at the same time, like, we're just trying to get some data and get some feedback from from teachers and from students as to how this is before we officially launch it on eduFire. If you have additional questions, you're free to message me through eduFire, or you can send me an email, john@edufire.com. And as I mentioned, I always like to take the time and say thank you to all of you for showing up today, because this is a lot more fun to teach when we have 15 people on a Saturday afternoon learning than if it was just me talking into a camera for an hour. So I really appreciate that. And now we've got about 5 minutes left, and so what I want to do is give you the opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. I'll take a look at the chat log here and see if there's anybody who has any questions, and if you want to come live on audio or video, then